Hi, and welcome to episode 11 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and you can find me online at Noble Character Crafts on both Etsy and Instagram. You can find me on Ravelry at Noble Character, and I also have a group for this podcast on Ravelry under Noble Character Crafts Podcast. In that group, you will find show notes for both this episode and any previous episodes. There are also several threads of chatter for the current knit along that is going on right now. There's a finished object thread in that group. There's also a thread for you to ask me any questions that you may have and to introduce yourselves. So please join us over there. Today is Friday, January 12th, 2018. Thank you so much for joining me. A huge welcome to any new and returning viewers. I really appreciate you joining me today. This is a podcast all about my life as a knitter, a crocheter, and a hand dyer of yarn. And I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live on a farm with my husband and our 5 children. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Today I have a cup of my favorite nighty-night tea, which I drink often. And I got a new mug from my friend for a belated Christmas present. Isn't that pretty? I love orange, and it says joy, and it has Psalm 92 verse 4 on it. And it's written there, "For you make me glad by your deeds, Lord. I sing for joy at what your hands have done." I'm reading that backwards. That's really hard. Everything is like in the screen. Everything is backwards. So pretty talented, aren't I? Oh. Okay. Anyway, I'm really happy with this. It also has I don't know. I don't think it's an actual Bible verse, but there's a sweet message on the inside on the bottom. I doubt that I'll get through this cup of tea by the end of the podcast, but if I do, I'll share it with you. I don't remember what it says exactly. Okay, so as I mentioned, we do have a knit along going on right now, which is the CABLEKAL. I am co-hosting that with Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady podcast, and that is for any projects that you have that involve cables. Whips are allowed, and that is running until the 1st of February. So if you do have any cable projects on the go or that you would like to cast on, there's lots and lots of small projects that have been put into the finished object thread. Like I just saw this morning a cabled cozy for a coffee mug and little fingerless mitts or something. So if you do want to join in that cal, there is plenty of time still to make several small objects. So, or, a larger one if you're a fast knitter. So I would love it if you would join us over there. I did receive a prize, another prize for that CABLEKAL this week. I was contacted by Ashley of Blackberry Ridge, and she asked me if she would, if she could donate a prize for the CABLEKAL, and I was so grateful for that. Thank you again, Ashley, so much. She sent this gorgeous needle gauge. Isn't that lovely? Oh my goodness. And I wish you could smell it because I think she said it was cherry wood, and isn't that so beautiful? So this will go into the prizes for the CABLEKAL. And then she also sent for me a sweet little stitch marker that says #cozy. Isn't that adorable? Thank you so much again, Ashley. I so appreciate you being willing to donate a prize for the CABLEKAL, and go check out her Etsy shop. She has these as well as the leather ruler bracelets that are so pretty, and she also has some patterns. She has a pattern for some fingerless mitts that I really want to make. They are knitted and they have trees on the bottom of the cuff. They are so gorgeous with color work, and I really, really want to cast those on, but I just have so many different whips going on right now that I need to finish some things before I can cast on anything new, really. But again, thank you so much, Ashley. And if there are any other makers out there that would like to donate a prize for the CABLEKAL, I am still accepting those prizes until the end of the month. So please get in contact with me right away, and I would love to have you join in the prize pool for that CABLEKAL as well. You can contact me through my email as well, which is noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. I am wearing today my MAREEL shawl, which is by TAIGA HILLIARD, I think is how you pronounce it. This is made with super bulky yarn, which was a Rowan yarn. It was 100% wool. It knit up so quickly because it is the super bulky, and it was made with, I don't remember what size needle, but you know, huge needles. So it worked up super quickly, but it's got beautiful lace work in it. And it was one of the first shawls I made. I think maybe the third shawl I made, and or knitted. And I have used this quite often when going outside to go sledding or just go through a walk in our wooded area, because it is so thick and cozy. It really keeps the wind off my neck. So anyway. I am going to start off with some finished objects. I finally finished my husband's slippers, and I didn't make any mistakes this time. Yay! I made the men's loafer slippers, which is a pattern by MONIQUE, and it is a paid-for pattern. And if you tuned in previously, you would know that I started making a pair for him and realized that I was making them incorrectly. You were supposed to hold 2 strands of yarn together, and when I made the first slipper, I only had 1 strand of yarn. So I had already felted it and then realized that it was incorrectly made. I had also made a few other mistakes along the way, and I was able to correct them this time. So I made the size 11, actually the size 10-11 for my husband. He does normally wear a size 11 men's shoe size. I used Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the Bittersweet Heather colorway, and it was made on US size 11 needles originally, and then, you know, they're large, and then you throw them in the washing machine in hot water to felt them. I washed these 3 times in the washing machine to get them to this size. I told my husband that I thought I should throw them in 1 more time just to shrink them up a little bit, but he liked the way that they fit him. So if he's happy with them, I'm happy with them. I did crochet with a slip stitch the top section here, because you make the bottom of the slipper from the sole of the foot, and then you work around the edge, and then in a separate piece you make this flap that goes up the top, and then you're supposed to sew it on. But after watching the Yarn Hoarder podcast episode number 4, where she talked about how she made these exact same loafers, she said that she used a crochet hook to slip stitch the top flap on, and then that makes that ridge along the top, which is kind of nice. So I did that as well, and it went a lot quicker, you know, than stitching it on. Crochet is so much faster for me anyway. So I am really happy with how these turned out. I did order these leather soles that go on the bottom. I got them from Lavender Hill Knits. She has an Etsy shop. And I actually got the women's size for both my husband, and I have a pair for myself as well, because on the pictures that I saw on her website anyway, the men's size looked huge, and I was just afraid they were going to be way too big for this slipper. And I probably would have been okay, because there is, you know, a bit of room on either side. The men's size, I think, is just a bit wider and a little bit longer maybe, but I think these will work just fine. I thought that they filled up the space that's going to get worn out pretty well, so I'm happy with that. There are different shades that you can get for the leather soles, and I picked the brown color. It does come with this yarn for you to stitch on the leather soles, but I didn't know if that was going to be strong enough, so I instead had this heavy-duty thread that I used. This is like an antique here, but I have I actually got a sewing tape, or sewing what do you call it? Like a sewing table that was full of sewing notions quite a few years ago at an auction nearby. And this, along with many other antique things, was in it. So has a cool wooden spool. Anyway, I just love all those little things that I got, but I do put them to use if I can. So anyway, I use that thread to stitch them on, and I am hoping that that will hold up pretty well. We will see. My husband is really happy with them, and I'm happy that I got them done finally for him, and I am planning to make myself a pair as well. I haven't started them yet though. And now he can have those to warm up his feet. Okay, my next finished object was a random creation. I made this funny little elephant stuffy for my 4-year-old son. My kids got some belated Christmas presents from my brother-in-law and his wife, and my daughter actually got this kit from them, which is crochet gifts. And so it comes with a pattern book for all of those crocheted items in this book here. And it also comes with this blue cotton yarn, which was a tangled mess, as you can plainly see. They did not put it in a very nice skein. And it comes with a crochet hook, which is a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. Anyway, so my son saw this book and he asked me to make him this elephant. This is by, I don't know who exactly wrote the patterns, but it was written by Beth Taylor. It's by the Craft Yarn Council is the company that put it out. I don't know. Anyway, here is the elephant as it's supposed to look. As you can see, it's supposed to have legs on it. My elephant does not have legs on it because my son said he didn't want them. I think he was just anxious to get his elephant. He kept saying, "Mommy, is it done yet? Is it done yet?" No, not yet. The legs were supposed to be the last thing, and he said, "I don't want legs," so okay, fine with me. Anyway, I think this is actually the first stuffy I've ever made, so, which is pretty incredible because I've been crocheting for going on 19 years, I think. So anyway, the yarn is worsted weight. Actually, the pattern calls for you to use a 4 millimeter hook, which I didn't realize until after I'd made it. I assumed that since it came in this kit, that the hook that they provided you was the one I should use. But it was a very quick knit. You just start at the rear end here and you make the body, and then you decrease for the trunk, and then you make the ears and sew those on, and then you just do a chain for the tail. Well, I think the pattern actually said for you to do something else, but I just did a chain for the tail and added a few extra little threads there to make it cute at the end. And then I didn't have any safety eyes, but I just had black buttons that I sewed on. So this elephant has been nicknamed Bluey. Pretty original name. But my son likes it, so, and now, you know, all the kids want me to make them a different stuffy. So I've been searching Ravelry. My daughter's birthday is coming up in just a few days, well, in like a week and a half. So she would really like me to make her something, and I'm not sure if I'll do that or not. We'll see. We'll see how I do. Okay, those are my finished objects. I do have a half object. I was able to finish my first prongs sock. This is a new pattern that I am test knitting for Nicole Bracey of WOOLFIELD, and it is called her prongs socks. Here, I'll just turn this around so you can see the cable a little bit better. There's the cable stitch down the front of the leg, which is so beautiful. And this shell stitch marker or progress keeper is showing where I was last time I podcasted. I had just done the heel flap, but that's where I was on the cabling. So anyway, this is made using my own hand-dyed yarn on my pitter patter base in the Tranquil colorway. And I cast it on I made the medium size, which you start with 66 stitches and then decrease for the leg to 64 stitches, I believe. But I did a 2x1 ribbing for 20 rows, and I am using US size 1.5, which is 2.5 millimeter. Is that right? Yes. And I did the pattern, well, the original picture for this pattern shows the sock to be pretty short, but I love my socks to be pretty long because I'm pretty tall. I'm 5'10", and usually I wear leggings a lot of times, and usually the leggings are a little bit short in the leg, so it's nice to have the sock to cover my leg where the legging doesn't cover. The heel is a Eye of Partridge heel, which I have never done before, but I really love the look of that. I don't feel comfortable picking up stitches. I hate picking up stitches. I just never really know where to pick them up. And one of the sides of this heel, yeah, this side, I did a pretty yucky job of picking up the stitches there along the leg, but it's okay. Let's see, I did 14 repeats of the cabling for the leg, and I think I did 12 for the foot, and then it has a rounded toe in the pattern, and Kitchener the toe. So I'm really happy with these. I did switch over to my new CABLEKAL mini twist needles, and I think it has helped my laddering quite considerably. You can see I switched it over. This is the leg of the foot. You can see the laddering is bad, and here it's quite a bit better. I still have this stitch, which is actually it's the first row right after the purling. So it's it's not the actual very last stitch of that row. And this side looks a lot better. So I don't know what that's about. Does anybody know what that's about? Why is that? It's not actually on the turn of the cable needle. It's that last, well, you do these purls and then you do 2 knit stitches before you go to the other side. So why would my first knit stitch be too loose? I don't know. I guess I just need to pull it tighter. But anyway, it is a lot better, so I'm really happy with that. And I have casted on the second one, but I just cast it on, so I've only done 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. But at least I've got it cast on. That's the hardest part, right? Should be. And I am holding this project in my Creative Frenzy project bag. Okay. So, moving on to the rest of my whips here. My next project is in one of my Noble Character Crafts project bags that I send along with any yarn order. And I am working on my Time Trades shawl by Caitlin Hunter of Boylan Knitworks. This is a gift for a very good friend of mine. And I am making this using my own hand-dyed yarn again on my Radiant base, which is 70% superwash merino and 30% silk. And I was right here where that little stitch marker is marking last time I podcasted. So I have finished the first half of the shawl, I think. And it doesn't look very long, does it? I thought it would be a lot longer than that. The finished measurement, I mean, maybe it just blocks out a lot. I'm not sure, but I think that that's the first half. The finished shawl is supposed to be 72 inches long. This is only like maybe 1.5 feet. So I don't know. Oh well, maybe it blocks out and it makes it a lot longer. I'm not sure. But it's a beautiful pattern and I love working on it so much. So I started with the night colorway. What's this little, oh, it's just thread. Started with the Night colorway, worked into the Honor colorway, and then into the Steadfast colorway. Then the Satisfied colorway, which I really love this color, and I want to make a sweater for myself out of this color someday. And then right now I am on to Tranquil, and then I did just put a stripe of the Abundance colorway in, which I cannot wait to get to that section. After I'm done with this second repeat of the Tranquil lace section, then I will start working with the Abundance colorway more. Which here it is in the cake. And I love it so much. I think it's become my new favorite of my hand-dyed yarn. And here's the Tranquil in the cake. And then I will work into the Sweetness colorway, which is caked up right there. So this I am using CABLEKAL needles size 6, which are 4mm. And yeah, again, I'm just loving working on this. I feel like I haven't had a ton of knitting time this week, but I guess that's a good chunk of work put into that. But I just want to do so much more. I just feel like I haven't, for some reason, got quite as much knitting done this week as I have in previous weeks, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm anxious to get more and more of that done. Okay, my next work in progress is my scrappy socks. I have these in my Tuft Woolens project bag. And this is for the knit along that Bethany of the Woolberry Fiber Company is hosting for making scrappy socks. It's the Woolberry Scrap Along, I think it's called. And last time I podcasted, boy, I'm a tangled mess here. Okay. Last time I podcasted, I was on this purple and this green stripe. So I've been able to do 2 more full stripes, and I'm working on a 3rd. And I am obviously doing these 2 at a time. Started with my Night colorway and did a 1x1 ribbing for 20 rows. And then each color I'm doing 10 rows of the color before I switch to a new color. I am using CABLEKAL's size 1, US 1, 2.25mm needles. And I am loving working on these. They are so fun to switch out the different colors. So yeah, these are all my hand-dyed yarns. So we have Enriched on my Twinkle Toes base, and then the rest of them are all on my Pitter Patter base, which is my 75-25. So I have Wisdom, Rejoice, Spring Rain, Love, Confidence, the hot pink, Life Giving, Cold Water, Sweetness, and Vineyard. So they're super fun. I'm really loving them. I casted on 68 stitches for these, and I think I'm really gonna like the fit of these. The other socks that I showed you are 64 stitches, and they are just the teensiest bit tight to get over my instep. They fit, but you know, it's kind of a struggle to pull them on, but I'd rather them be too tight than too loose, and the large size I think would have been too loose. So I'm kind of making the medium size on that pattern, but I think I'm really gonna like the fit of 68 stitches. I hope so anyway. Oh, I am using the clasp weft method, I think that's what it's called, for joining yarn. And I'll link to that in the show notes so that you can check out a YouTube video for that if you're interested. You basically make a type of loop to join the thread together, and then you are working over 2 strands of yarn for a few stitches at the end of the color change and then the beginning of the next color change. So I think that is working pretty well, and then you don't have to weave in as many ends. Here you can kind of see. So you work over 2 stitches of the, here, you can see the Sweetness colorway ended here, and I worked over it with 2 threads of it held together. and then you work into the vineyard colorway using 2 threads, again, because it's looped over itself. Anyway, again, I'll just link to the tutorial that shows you how to do that exactly, but you can kind of see, and then I should just be able to, you know, snip off that tiny little end there. And hopefully it will hold. It's supposed to anyway. So I'm loving working on these. This is really my only, you know, vanilla simple knitting that I have on the go right now. So my next WIP has been neglected this week, sadly. I don't know how I could have gone a whole week without touching this project, but I did just want to show it really quickly. This is my Lily cardigan, which is a pattern by AIMEE Lindland of the Amy's Little Kingdom podcast. And again, I haven't done any work on it this week, which is so sad, but here it is. It's so pretty, and I am definitely going to work on this week so much more. I am using Knit Picks palette in the Aurora Heather colorway. And I'm using CABLEKAL again. Size 6 4mm needles. So, and this is also in My Creative Frenzies project bag. And I can't wait to work on this some more. I guess I was really wanting to get those slippers done for my husband, so those took priority this week. And I also wanted to get the prong sock finished, the first one, because I wanted to get that done in time for her test knitting deadline. So I did cast something new on this week. So I started, this is in an Allison Barnes collection bag, and I joined in the Christy Glass Doodler Cal. So this is a knit along that Christy Glass is hosting, and the idea is to only work on it on Sundays. She is doing this along with her daughter, and it's just kind of a mother-daughter bonding thing that they're doing on Sundays together. So I am joining in, and I did only work on it on Sunday. In fact, I was working quite a bit on a few other projects last Sunday, so I didn't get a ton done. This is, I only got 3 wedges done, but I'm happy with that. At least I got it cast on and started. And it's really a fun knit. Actually, I started it and I got to, I think, the 2nd wedge before I realized that I had misread the pattern. So I had to go back quite a ways and fix my mistake. You start with an I-cord cast on, and I hadn't done that before. I've done an I-cord bind off, but I've never done an I-cord cast on, so that was interesting. And yeah, it's just really fun, really exciting to see it grow already, and I'm excited to work on it some more. So my plan is to actually only work on this on Sunday, and from now on, I'm hoping that I will only work on this project on Sundays instead of any other projects. I am using my own hand-dyed yarn in my new Embrace colorway and my enriched colorway. And this is also on my Radiant base, this 70% superwash merino, 30% silk. And then I will eventually be working in the Honor colorway as well for the 3rd color. This is on CABLEKAL size 4, 3.5mm needles. I did have one of you ask, I forgot to mention it last time, but one of you had asked about the weaving that I had shown on the first episode that I had started, and someone had asked how I was coming on that, and I haven't come on that. You know, it was one of those projects that I was really, really excited to start. I'd never done a weaving before, and so I got all excited about it, and yeah, now I'm just not interested in it. So I'm not really sure. It's just in my closet right now, and I may or may not pick it up. I don't know. Right now I'm just not interested in working on it. I have so many things that I want to knit, so. But thank you for asking. But if I do have any progress on it, I'll be sure to show you. And then I also wanted to, even though I'm a couple weeks into the new year, I wanted to share all of the makes that I was able to make in 2017. I just wanted to review that really quickly. So I did learn to knit this last year in 2017. I started practicing in January, but I think my first finished object wasn't until March, maybe. Anyway, so I was able to crochet 3 cowls, 5 scarves, 9 hats, a cocoon wrap, a pair of boot cuffs, a sweater, 2 afghans, which, well, I'll talk about those in a second. They're not actually all made in 2017, but 5 headbands and at least 15 fingerless mitts. I shared with you before how I make several owl mitts for my Etsy shop, which I think I'm pretty confident I'm going to be no longer making those, so I'm just going to probably sell what I have and then I will be done making those. But I did make several pairs of the fingerless mitts for my Etsy shop, and that's just a guess. 15, it's probably much more than that. Also the afghans, I had started the afghan that I finished previously and just finished it in 2017. And then the second afghan that I made was the 2017 collaboration afghan that I made with several other makers. So I worked with 47 other knitters and crocheters to have them send me a square, and then I just stitched them together and made a border. So I didn't make that whole afghan, I just coordinated it. And then for knitting, I was able to make 7 shawls, 3 kids sweaters, 2 baby bonnets, at least 10 dishcloths, but again, the dishcloth thing is a guess because I made several, but I think about 10. I made a cardigan, like a sleeveless top for my daughter, 2 hats, a headband, 8 pairs of socks, a pillow, a pair of baby booties, a baby dress, and 2 pairs of mittens. And of all of those makes, 30 of them were gifts. So that was really exciting to just go through what I have made and to be able to see everything written down was really cool. I mean, it was so neat to be able to see, everything all together. And I'm proud of how many things I was able to make, and glad that I was able to gift quite a few of those things. So anyway, well, and I did include the gifts as things that I made for my children. So anything that I made that was not for myself, I included as a gift. I guess it's not really a gift if it's for my kid, but you know what I mean. It wasn't for me, so. Anyway, I just wanted to review that. So, okay, to end my podcast, I have always been showing a set of 3 skeins of yarn to make a shawl with. And I have a new colorway that I came up with this week, which is kind of fitting for Valentine's Day, I thought. This is called With All Your Heart, and it has a bubblegum pink base. It's blowing out a little bit, but there. And then it has sections of burgundy and deep red and bright red and hot pink and a little bit of other pink. It's kind of hard in this skein, you can't see everything. A little bit of a deeper pink on there as well. But anyway, this I made for a friend that requested this colorway, and I'm really happy with how it turned out, so I put it in my shop as well. And I thought I would just pair it with a few. You have seen these other colorways before, but I thought they looked cool together. So this is my Vineyard colorway, and my favorite Sweetness colorway, one of my favorites, I guess. I use it so often, but I just thought that those 3 looked pretty together. The Sweetness colorway is really such a neutral, even though it has pink and purple in there, but it goes with so much. So anyway, that's my shawl pick for this week. These are actually on my Radiant base, and this is on my Pitter Patter, but you get the idea. So Patricia, the winner of the giveaway from last week's podcast, suggested that I do a steeking cal for in the near future, and I think that's a super great idea. One of my goals for 2018 is to try to steek a project, and that was one of her goals as well. And so she suggested that we try a steeking cal, especially for anybody that maybe has not steeked before and is a little intimidated by that. So I think I will host a steeking cal, but I don't have details for it yet. I think I will have that start on February 1st after the cable cal has wrapped up. But stay tuned for that, and if you want to start browsing any projects that include steeking, feel free to do that, and we will hopefully be able to start that in February. So we have had a little bit of warmer weather this last week, but it's cooled off again and it's freezing cold again. But I don't have much of an update for this last week. I was trying to think of what has gone on this last week and I can't really think of much. I don't know. We've just been doing schoolwork and yeah, we've been kind of boring. I've been dyeing a lot of yarn lately, which I am so grateful for. Orders that have come through, people that have been watching this podcast have ordered some and let me know that they found out about my yarn through the podcast. So that is just so wonderful. Thank you so much to anybody who has placed an order. I truly appreciate that. And yeah, we have just been trying to get outside as much as we can, but it is a little hard. There was a few days when it was a little warmer, and so I made everybody get outside just for a little bit because, like I said last week, it's just so hard to be stuck inside all the time. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you all have a wonderful week. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please give me a thumbs up. And if you would like to subscribe to this podcast, I would truly appreciate that. Thanks again so much for joining me. Bye.